Who's ready for some more DC Studios news? Well, James Gunn is going to give it to us because it has been coming at us really fast. Over the last day or so, we've gotten a deluge of responses from James Gunn himself, addressing some of the DCU rumors, backlash, and negativity. Let's take a couple minutes to break down several of these stories and dive into a little bit of good news because we've got an announcement when we'll know more about upcoming projects. Let's break it down. Well, I have to say the best thing about the new regime at DC Studios is how responsive management is, and today we are not short on news. There has been a lot going on with James Gunn over on Twitter, and this includes him responding to some fans' negativity and even threats, that recasting news surrounding Gal Gadot, a minor confrontation with Ray Fisher, and even some confirmation about when we're going to find out about new projects. So it's a really busy day. Let's kick off with his response to some of the negativity coming from some fans. Now, since taking over as co-heads of DC Studios, Gunn and Safran have had to make quite a few very difficult decisions, and this will all play directly into the future of the new DCU. Many fans totally understand the need to shake things up to take the DCU in a new direction, but the possibilities of a full reboot seem far-fetched in the beginning, and now that they've let go of Henry Cavill, that seems to be the direction they're headed in. Now, this has upset quite a few fans, because recently Cavill returned as the Man of Steel in Black Adam, and the future appeared pretty bright for his place in the DC Universe. This has resulted in a lot of backlash from fans, and James Gunn took to Twitter to try to address some of these responses, deal with the negativity, and speak specifically to some of the major toxic behavior we're seeing out of some fans. Let's dive into his tweets. Now, over on Twitter he posted, "One of the things Peter and I were aware of when we took the job as heads of DC Studios was a certain minority of people online who could be, well, uproarious and unkind to say the least. Our choices for the DCU are based on what we believe is best for the story and best for DC characters who have been around for nearly 85 years. Perhaps these choices are great, perhaps not, but they are made with sincere hearts and integrity and always with the story in mind. No one loves to be harassed or called names, but to be frank, we've been through significantly worse. Disrespectful outcry will never ever affect our actions. We are aware there would be a period of turbulence when we took this gig, and we knew we would sometimes have to make difficult and not so obvious choices, especially in the wake of the fractious nature of what came before us." Now, I have to say, Gunn here addressing some of the problems is great, and I do really love it. There is a minority of fans, especially in some corners of the DC Universe. You know who you are, and they are just, well, out and out nasty sometimes. Now, this doesn't mean all those fans are that way, and I don't want anybody to think that's what I think, but there has been some toxicity and nastiness online that seems to be widespread that Gunn seems to be addressing. I love the fact that he flat out says he's not going to allow this particular crowd to affect his choices with that negativity. Now, this doesn't give him permission to just be disrespectful and nasty to those fans, and I don't think he is, but I think we need to recognize where the DCU is now and where it's headed going forward. Clear leadership is in place, and they seem to really have a plan, and I don't think people should expect anything short of that. Now, Gunn did respond to a lot of other tweets online in the last day, and a series of those actually came from Ray Fisher. Now, Ray Fisher has had some long-standing beefs with Warner Brothers, and we're not really going to get into the middle of that. Let's be clear. The accusations against Joss Whedon are very serious, and that kind of behavior is never condonable. But where we are at this point in the timeline, I'm not really sure what Fisher is getting out of this kind of attention-seeking. Now, he seemed upset that Gunn had deleted a couple of tweets, and Gunn did respond with an answer that made it pretty clear his tweets are automatically deleted, and it wasn't any sort of presented diss towards him or the Cyborg character. A lot of fans have tried to expand on this a little bit with that new DC logo. If you notice, that's the new 52, but Cyborg has been removed. Now, some people have viewed this as a slight, but quite honestly, it's kind of a symmetry thing. There's 3 characters on each side with the DC logo in the middle. I think that really totally works, and obviously they could have added maybe another character on each side, but the 3 and 3 combo works, and I don't think it's any kind of intended slight towards the character. Now, personally, I liked Ray Fisher's Cyborg in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. We finally got some depth and backstory to him, and I'm really kind of hoping they find a way to put Cyborg back into the new DCU. Whether Fisher will work with Warner Brothers, or if Warner Brothers even wants him, is completely up in the air. I know people have a lot of opinions about that, but I'm not too sure he has a bright future at that studio. Now, one thing Gunn has been catching a lot of flack for is some of the recasting news and some of the rumors surrounding it. There have been multiple reports that most of the original, if not all of the original DCEU was going to be recast, and with additional reports suggesting that he was going to keep the characters he had created or worked with in the Suicide Squad. This would include characters like Amanda Waller or the character his wife plays, Hardcore. Now, Gunn has responded directly to this when he was pressed about Gal Gadot. Now, this actually came via another social media post. When a user mentioned that he had booted both Cavill and Gadot, Gunn responded by saying, "I'm not sure where you're getting that we booted Gal," suggesting that Gal may still be very well associated with the DCU. Now, we talked the other day about how Wonder Woman 3 had been cancelled, but Gal is not necessarily out of a job, and she might very well have a place in his new DC universe. Once again, the biggest problem is changing up Superman to a younger version of the character and how they fit the past with this character into that new universe. It might be hard for the general fans to understand it's a new universe with the same actors or actresses, but if Gunn thinks he can make it work, I'm all down for it. Now, he did expand on this a little bit, making it very clear that they are not recasting everyone except the Suicide Squad. Once again, this came via Twitter, and it's a clear and concise message that these characters are likely to live on in some form or another. One thing the early DCU got very well was picking some of these actors, so this doesn't surprise me, but I am curious what he's up to. I do still firmly believe many of these actors will be recast, but Wonder Woman is kind of timeless and her age might not matter as much moving forward. Gal is well received in the role, so he might want to keep her. These are details only James Gunn knows, so we're going to have to wait until he makes some kind of announcements. And that brings us to the biggest news, and once again comes directly from James Gunn. Now again, he responded to a tweet asking him how many projects will be announced this January. Now, I don't think the user was expecting an answer, but he actually got one from Gunn, who responded with a few. Now, we all know a new Superman is headed our way, but a few suggest, well, 3 or more. 2 is a couple, so a few means a handful, and I'm suspecting we're going to get probably 3 new projects announced almost immediately. If you listen to what David Zaslav has had to say, and the 5 pillars Gunn has mentioned in the past, we talked about it a little bit. If he was announcing a few new projects, I suspect it will not only be a Superman project, but we might very well get an announcement for Batman, and maybe even a new Wonder Woman movie. Remember, Zaslav has made it really clear he wants the Trinity front and center, and that may very well mean kicking off this new DCU with a story for each character. This to me would be one of the best case scenarios and exactly what they should do. Introducing the 3 primary characters also allows them to introduce many other additional characters to help do that world building aspect that Feige has done so well, and I think Gunn has a solid grasp on. Now, which projects these are, we're going to have to wait and see. I do think he might lean on the Trinity, but we should remember the other 2 pillars of the DCU he has mentioned, which were Aquaman and Harley Quinn. So we very well could get some sort of underwater or Atlantis-based adventure, or a new Suicide Squad or Harley Quinn adventure, which could be something pretty fun if there's also a Batman movie. Many people have wanted to see Harley Quinn team up with Poison Ivy on screen, and I think Gunn understanding that and appearing in the Harley Quinn animated series might have given him a few ideas. Now, we're going to do these DC updates as they come out, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of the James Gunn news. But until we know more, what do you guys think? How do you feel about James Gunn being so front and center answering questions for fans? And what projects do you believe will be announced this January? Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.